Strangers, believe me when I say, loving me is loving danger. Your heart is bound to break. I walk alone in the night, beneath the pale moon, loving's for the fools. Baby, beware of my bite. I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm a lone wolf. 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 I'm a corners of your mind. I go where the wind blows. I run but I don't hide. I hear the call of the wild, whispering the name. No, I can't be tamed. My heart belongs to the night. I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm a lone wolf. 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 I'm a
Alright guys, my co-host is currently playing Space Engineers and hasn't realised, so let me message him and say, oi! Jump in, bro. There we go. Alright, just let him know in his chat. He's live playing his little Space Engineers. Can't blame him for that. Alright, so we got some news. We got a lot of news. And it's not all bad. It's quite funny news today. It's a bit of mix. It's a bit of good and bad. You know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We had a little bit of a hokey pokey and we'll all turn about. But let's jump into it. Let's all talk about what's happening in the news. Because, well, it's Monday, and, well, technically for you guys it's Monday, it's Tuesday for me. And at the end of the day, we've had, 2 or 3 days with no news. So we should probably jump into it. Alright, so where do we start? Alright, let's talk about some of the older stuff news, and then we'll get to the new stuff. So, he took a hard punch in the face for all of us. Trump brings conservative attack at Berkeley on stage. So obviously, guys, you may be aware that there was the conservative attack that happened over at Berkeley. It was the guy from Turning Point USA who went through and basically went through and well, got punched in the face. He got punched in the face by one of the guys from the campus, the UC Berkeley. They have arrested him. He has been identified, and at the end of the day, yeah, it's obviously somewhat good news. But obviously Trump has decided to obviously do what he does best, and he has actually brought this guy on stage, where he's actually gone through and actually, I think it was at his, was it his CPACs? Yeah, CPAC. So during President Donald Trump's speech at CPAC on Saturday, he took a moment to recognize the discrimination conservative students face on college campuses. Which is really going to piss some people off, isn't it? But anyway, I turned on my television the other day and I saw somebody that was violently punched in the face, said Trump to his audience at CPAC. The man's name is Hayden Williams. Hayden, come up here, please. Williams jumped on the stage to say a few words, but he refused to use his few seconds of fame to talk about himself. So we do have that video, and we will see how long that goes for. Oh, it's 8 minutes. No, I'm not going to play an 8-minute video. Apart from that, it's great that I'm being recognised, he said, but there are so many conservative students across the country who are facing discrimination, harassment, and worse if they dare speak up on campus. Now, Williams is a field representative at the Leadership Institute, a non-profit organisation out in Arlington, VA, or Virginia, which aims to help fight the liberal bias that has infested American college campuses. William was on UC Berkeley's campus on Thursday, February the 19th, helping local student activists when Zachary Greenberg, 28, assaulted him. He was arrested by the UCPD Friday afternoon for his assault on Williams and is currently being held on $30,000 bond at Glendale Jail in Oakland. So at the end of the day, it's important now as ever that we work as a leadership institute. Go away. Leadership Institute campus for reforming and exposing these liberal abuses to the public. So I believe he was actually working for Turning Point USA. I believe it was. So yeah, that's what they do. Apart from that, where else was he? The students to do because they have a love of and freedom. Williams noted that if the progressive socialists had their way, the Constitution would be put through a paper shredder. If you keep defending us, we keep defending you, Williams said of the president. The audience roared in approval as President Trump announced a new executive order he will be signing, which requires colleges and universities to support freedom of speech. Oof. Now, if they want our dollars and they would come and we give it to them by the billions, they have to go and allow people like Hayden and many other great young people to speak, said Trump. So what he's actually talking about here is he's going through and basically saying that if they want government funding, then at the end of the day, they then have to go through and actually, well, they have to go through and they have to support freedom of speech, which is a First Amendment right. So, yeah, look, at the end of the day, I kind of support this. I like the fact that he's forcing this debate on freedom of speech. I would like to see the Liberals try and argue against it, or what they're going to do, claim it, you know, it's racist or something like that. But at the end of the day, yeah, freedom of speech is important. Trust me from a guy who is in a country at the moment that does not have a guaranteed freedom of speech. And you might think I'm talking about some third world shithole. No, I'm talking about Australia. We do not have a guaranteed freedom of speech here like you guys over in America do, which is kind of sucky. And over in Europe at the moment, they are literally eroding away at the freedom of speech, which is not guaranteed either, by the way. And they're actually going through and arresting people for thought crimes. They're arresting people for mean tweets. They're arresting people because they have a different opinion than what the establishment wants. Now, we are going to talk about this a little bit more. But yeah, but like I say, at the end of the day, it'll be the next topic. But yeah, at the end of the day, there's no surprise. A huge war on freedom of speech. And the liberal left do not like it because people are using that said freedom to go through and to actually expose corruption in the government, expose corrupt New World Orders or government incentives or whatever it may be. And it really is bringing the balance of power back to both sides. It's taking it away from the establishment and giving it to also to the people, which I fully support. Now, at the end of the day, obviously, like I say, some countries are better in better situations than others. For example, America is in a really good situation because of your forget the name of it. I'm gone blank. It's been a long night. But yeah, you have a guaranteed freedom of speech. We in Europe and Australia and some other places, they don't have it. Which is why it gets a little frustrating because you have people like over in America who go on about how it's not important. Well, if it's not important, Saudi Arabia or go and live in the UK or whatever it may be. You know, you don't have to live in a third world shithole to be affected by a lack of freedom of speech. But like I say, you guys, you have that in your constitution, which is a really good thing for you guys. But yeah, it does kind of piss me off when some people sit there and they shit on it and they don't realise how important it is. But anyway, and talking about freedom of speech and whatnot, Marine Le Pen is to be prosecuted for anti-ISIS tweets. Welcome to France. I do find the timing on this to be very, very suspect. Like, interesting, isn't it? Like at the end of the day, all of a sudden there's a huge uproar over in France, which is, by the way, still going. And at the end of the day, for example, most people want Macron to be kicked out of the politics, kicked out of the presidency of France, and all of a sudden now his biggest contender, well, she's going to be investigated and prosecuted for anti-ISIS tweets. Funny how that works out, isn't it? It's like the establishment is trying to protect its own, and they're trying to get rid of any people that are, for example, a threat to their little globalist buddy that they have. But, you know, hey, that would be a conspiracy theory, wouldn't it? But let's jump into it. Prosecutors have called for French right-wing leader Marine Le Pen to be tried for tweeting pictures of atrocities committed by the Islamic State group judicial sources said. Le Pen shared a gruesome images in December of 2015, so it's not even frigging recent. It's like 3 years ago, mind you. A few weeks after ISIS jihadis killed 130 people in Paris. After a French journalist drew a comparison between the jihadi group and her party, her move sparked widespread condemnation in France. One of the pictures showed a body of James Foley, an American journalist, beheaded by the Sunni extremists. Another showed a man in an orange jumpsuit being ran over by a tank, and the third showed a Jordan pilot being burnt alive in a cage. Daesh is this, Le Pen wrote in a caption using Arabic acronym for ISIS. She is facing the possibility of 3 years jail term and a fine of 75,000 euros if the investigation magistrate decides the trial should take place for circulating pictures liable to be seen by children. Whew. Hello, Seven. How are you, buddy? Prosecutors demanded that another member of her national party, Gilbert Culp, also be tried on similar charges. Le Pen, who lost to Emmanuel Macron in 2017 presidential election, was stripped of her parliamentary immunity over the pictures and therefore charged with circulating violent messages. It's interesting, isn't it? Last year she exposed outrage after the investigative magistrate called for her to undergo psychiatric tests in connection with her tweeting. She has denounced the case against her as violation of her freedom of expression. So look, at the end of the day, I do find it really, really convenient that French President Emmanuel Macron is having a bit of a problem over in France right now. He's having a bit of a uprising that he can't seem to squash. And by the way, I love the fact that the media is still talking about this, right? Like, it's not like the media stopped talking about it like in the third week or anything. It's been 16, 17 weeks now. But yeah, so the French are still protesting. The French are still rioting. And all of a sudden, the prosecution is now looking at French President Emmanuel Macron's biggest rival to see if they can throw her into jail for 3 years. It's weird, that, isn't it? It's a little bit, how do you say? Convenient, maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think in the comment section below? What are your thoughts on her being thrown in jail at this crucial time in history? Personally, I think it's very, very suspect. And at the end of the day, I would like to know who's behind it. But anyway. Now, look, at the end of the day, obviously, look, I don't know how she's going to go with this. This is Paris. It does have a bit of a problem when it comes to globalists and all that sort of stuff. And you know, their agenda and stuff. They literally have a prime minister that's one of their boys in the club. So, yeah, I don't know how she's going to go with this. I really, really don't. But yeah, Oh, sorry. The audio kicked in. But yeah, at the end of the day, I don't want to say, you know, that she should be running a country that's going to give her safety. But, you know, maybe it's an option. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think this is just really convenient timing? Or do you think that this is just, they've just got around to it? Or let me know what your thoughts in that comment section below. And apart from that, yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. Because, yeah, I think this is really, really convenient timing. Yeah. But anyway, see what happens. So Bernie Sanders has mocked Trump. My father didn't give me millions to build a country of clubs. To build country clubs. Oh, Bernie, don't be like that. You paid less money in taxes than Trump did. Bernie Sanders launched a presidential campaign in Brooklyn, New York, Saturday, declaring his bid as the best shot at beating President Donald Trump in 2020. Hello, Matt. How are you? The Democrats in the race have taken varied approaches to President Trump, with some avoiding saying his name entirely. He's literally Voldemort by this stage, while others make implicit critiques of his presidency. Sanders has never shifted from jabbing the president in a state terms. During his speech at Brooklyn College, calling Trump the most dangerous president in modern American history who wants to divide us up. It's always funny because it always seems to be the left that is dividing people. Not President Trump, but regardless. The Vermont senator positioned himself in opposition to Trump's administration policies for immigration to climate change. Beyond the issues themselves, Sanders, who grew up in a heavy Jewish neighborhood of Flatbush in a middle-class family, drew a stark contrast between himself and the billionaire in the White House who hails from Queens. He did not have a father who gave millions of dollars to build luxury skyscrapers, casinos and country clubs, Sanders said. I didn't come from a family that gave me $200,000 allowance every year beginning at the age of 3. As I recall, my allowance was 25 cents a week. So what's your point? I don't get what your point is. What? Because Trump's family was rich. That's what? Something you're going to attack him on? Dude, he's running a country. A country is basically a business. It really is a business, actually. So at the end of the day, if he can turn the money that he was given into, for example, making the best for America, it's not really. I do really think you. I get what you're trying to do, Bernie, but you're not really succeeding. He's trying to make out that Trump's a elitist, that he's a rich billionaire, and Trump is. But guess what? Trump's base already knows this. Trump's base already knows that he's a billionaire. Trump's base doesn't particularly care that Trump is a billionaire. Trump's base cares about Trump being pro-America. And you're pretty much a commie. So, you know, who really cares what a commie has to say about an American, really? But, you know. Sanders also said he did not come from a family of privilege that prepared me to entertain people on television by telling workers, you're fired. I came from a family who knew all too well the frightening power employees have in overday workers, he added. More than 200 miles away in a suburb of Washington, President Trump revealed in his 2016 victory and said that Republicans need to verify it in 2020 with an even bigger victory. While Trump didn't mention Sanders explicitly in a 2-hour speech at the Conservative Political Action Conference, he railed against the politics of socialism and continued to attempt to portray Democrats as out of touch with ordinary Americans. Sanders is a self-described Democrat socialist. Socialism is not about the environment. It's not about justice. It's not about virtue. It's about only one thing. It's called power for the ruling class, he told attendees. We know the future does not belong to those who believe in socialism. Sanders enters the race at the moment that bears little resemblance to when he waged his long shot bid in 2016. Democrats have been mobilized by the election of Trump and are seeking a standard bearer who can oust him from the office. Many of Sanders' populist ideas have been embraced by the mainstream of the Democratic Party. The field of the Democrats have joined includes the numbers of liberal candidates such as Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, and most notably Elizabeth Warren, whose similar sensibilities. Early February, Sanders launched a second run for the White House, pledging to run a campaign focused on transforming the US and creating government based on the principles of economic, social, radical, and environmental justice. You know, all those buzzwords I'd love to say. It's funny that a, quote, billionaire who's, you know, daddy gave him all this money as a kid, as an allowance, seems to do a better job at running the country than the Democrats ever have. So, yeah. So at the end of the day, I'll say that in a sec, Simon. But yeah, at the end of the day, I was going to say, you know, look, whether you like the fact that he's a billionaire or not, he's done a good job when it comes to raising the economy. So I would say, look, yeah, I really don't have a problem with Trump's. I don't have a problem with his financial strategy. And it seems to be working. So what's the point? What are you complaining about? What? You're complaining or you're having a jab at him because he's rich? Is that the best you've got? Really? Dude, you're a communist. You're literally very, very close to literally being Karl Marx at this stage. Like, yeah. Everybody that's lining up because they want free shit. This is what you're known for. You're known for giving away free stuff. And how are you going to fund it? How are you going to pay for all this free stuff that you want to give away? I don't know. We'll get the rich to pay for it. Yeah, right. That's going to work. And the thing is, you start taxing the rich leave. And then guess what? You got to tax the people that were just below the rich. So then you go for the next highest amount. And then they leave. And then you go for the next highest amount that was below them. And then they leave. And before you know it, the whole system has collapsed. Because everybody's left. There's no more investments in your country. And you're the next Venezuela. But, you know, hey, just, you know, free, right? Yeah. Anyway. Look, at the end of the day, as Seven says in the chat, I mean, at least Trump said you're hired before he said you were fired. And that's very true. Trump's fan did put people to work, Bernie. And that's right. Trump has hired how many people in America? How many people are employed by the Trump enterprise? Thousands? Hundreds of thousands? Tens of thousands? Whatever it may be. You know, they all have work now because of Trump. And because of Trump's businesses. So, yeah. I really think he's off base on attacking Trump because of this. And to be honest, look, we know that the Democrats are not going to let Bernie win. I seriously doubt it. Because at the end of the day, the establishment, they don't want Bernie to win as much as they want Trump to win. But regardless, so yeah, good luck with that, I suppose. So Washington Post walks back smear of Covington boys after $250 million lawsuit. The far-left Washington Post published an editor's note on Friday night admitting its leading coverage of the Covington High School story does not line up with the facts. And it was probably buried at the bottom of a page somewhere where no one could really see it. I had a thought the other day that if I was ever smeared in the newspapers or whatever, and I took him to court and we won, that one of the conditions of the settlement would be them having to run a full-page ad in their paper on the front admitting they got the details wrong. And that would be part of the conditions. That would be part of my conditions as to a settlement for damages. Now, obviously in Australia, I have a better chance of doing that because we don't have a freedom of speech. There's pros, there's cons. But yeah, at the end of the day, I really do wish that these people would make them put it on the front page. Make them take away the front page from an important story that they're going to get clicks from because they have to address this fact that they lied. But anyway. Nowhere, though, does the Post apologise for even saying it regrets smearing a group of innocent Catholic boys. Here's a portion of the Post statement, undoubtedly published on Friday night for the same reasons politicians released bad news on Friday night to limit the exposure and the damage. Something that Jeffrey just said in chat was absolutely right too, and something I forgot to mention. Trump isn't actually being paid for his job. He's actually doing the presidency for free. Makes you wonder if Bernie Sanders would do that. So it wrote, subsequently reporting the student statement, additional video, a more complete assertion of what occurred, either contradicting or failing to confirm accounts provided in that story, including the Native American activist Nathan Phillips was presented by one student from Moving On, that he has a group have been taunted by the students as led up to the encounter, and that the students were trying to instigate a conflict. The high school student facing Phillips issued a statement contradicting his account. The Bishop in Covington apologized for the statement, condemning the students and investigation conduct from the dossier of Deceits of Covington Catholic High School found the student's account consistent with video. It's a pretty piss poor attempt. It really, really is. This whole excuse, this whole Covington lawsuit. Hey, let's face it. The only reason why they're doing this is because they're trying to minimize their exposure from the lawsuit. They are worried that this $250 million is going to have to be paid, and it's going to cost them millions. So their response is, we put out a retraction on Friday, bury it on the bottom of a page. Maybe no one will see it. Maybe minimal amount of people will see it. But at the end of the day, at least we can then turn around and say to the lawyers, look what we've done. Aren't we good people? And at the end of the day, this is basically them trying to save their ass. And that's all it is. Now, at the end of the day, even in this, they don't, apologize. They don't say they're sorry. It's absolutely piss poor excuse, or a piss poor attempt. The Post motto is democracy dies in darkness. Apparently it doesn't include walking back publishing in the darkness of Friday's evenings. It seems reasonable to assume the Post was forced by the $250 million lawsuit filed against the anti-Trump outlet for its outrageous, irresponsibly attack on these boys who did absolutely nothing wrong. And I would say that is my view. Yes, that is why they're doing it, to try and limit their exposure with this lawsuit. Back in January, the conclusion of the annual March for Our Life, the boys waited near the Lincoln Memorial for a bus to take them home to Connecticut. Numerous videos of the incident that occurred proved that for the better part of an hour, and minding their own business, the boys were relentlessly taunted by a nearby group of black nationalists who hurled racial and homophobic slurs at them. Things came to a head when Nathan Phillips, a left-wing American Indian activist, have reportedly lied about serving in Vietnam during the war, invaded the boys' space while beating a drum. Although all of this in the video conclusively proved the boys behaved admirably, not one of them take the bait from the adults looking to provoke and bully them. Nevertheless, driven by their own bigotry, selective edit videos Phillips' lies and the strong desire to put Trump supporters back on defense after BuzzFeed's fake news faceplant, along with the rest of the establishment media, the Post turned the boys into villains, most especially the high school junior Nicholas Sandmann, who is guilty of nothing more than remaining calm as obnoxious Phillips bangs a drum in his face. Until the video of the entire episode surfaced, it was quickly disseminated by alternative media on social media throughout the elite media. Sandmann was smeared as a racist bully, junior Klansman, and worse. Sandmann is now represented by attorney L. Lynn Wood, who said intends to file numerous defamation suits against those in the media who deliberately ranked among with the smear based in a large part of their own prejudice, meaning Sandmann's faith, Christian, skin color, and political beliefs. He wore a hat with President Trump's Make America Again Again slogan. Wood's first lawsuit against the Post, and many believe a very good case, even though the American libel laws have been rigged to protect irresponsible outlets like the Post. The Post rushed to lead the mainstream assassination Nicholas's character and bully him, the law reads, adding that the Post deliberately sought to fan the flames on social media mob into mainstream media frenzy, which inflicted substantial reputation and emotional harm on Sandmann. Look, at the end of the day, what's this? Good on him. Sue the crap out of him. I really don't have a problem. I really don't have a problem with what them going through and actually suing. Look, good luck to you, man. I hope you win, and I hope you take the bastards to court and make them pay. Because someone has to. Jeffrey says in chat, Pocketbook is the only thing they know, was given a chance to apologise. Yeah, they were. They were actually asked, they had 48 hours, I believe it was, to put up a retraction. They didn't. And then after, well, now they've been sued for $250 million. Now all of a sudden they want to put up a retraction, which is, like I said, a piss poor attempt at an apology. It doesn't even come across as an apology. So yeah, like I say, sue them, sue the crap out of them, and hopefully you'll teach them a lesson. Hopefully you'll teach them that they can't do this shit all the time, or they can't do this shit ever again. And hopefully that'll be something that they learn. But I don't know what the chances of that are. All right, let's jump into the next thing. Finnish soldiers of Odin announced hunt for rapists and pedophiles in controversial video. So the Finnish police investigated video published recent social media by the vigilante group Soldiers of Odin that announced a hunt for rapists and pedophiles. A video which is subtitled in English and Arabic has since been deleted from both Facebook and Vimeo, shows a group of masked men dressed in dark, armed with bats and chains, march onwards to the camera amid winter's darkness, accompanied by heavy metal music. One of them, who acts as a spokesman, announces the pedophile hunting season has been opened. The speaker points out that their targets are the sex terrorists who have invaded our country and hunt our children, and explains that the Soldiers of Odin are going to take justice in their own hands, since the authorities and the politicians do nothing. Soldiers of Odin also claim that half of the sexual propositions to underage girls come from Arabs. The group stresses the hunt is open for domestic pedophiles and rapists of all colours. We guarantee you that your date with us will be memorable, and hey, don't worry, we won't call the police, they stated. The video is a response to the case of sexual abuse and perpetrated in Oula and Helsinki by a group of foreigners who have been arrested by the police. National Police Board has asked the Helsinki Police Department to assess whether a hate crime towards the ethnic groups should be suspected, determine which prevent other measures should be taken regarding the publication. The police board says that the suspect crimes cannot be systematically responded to with serious offences, and that responding to sexual crimes with crimes of violence does not help in the protection of human life and health, contribute to public safety. Alright, I get why they're upset. I get why they're pissed off. I understand that because the amount of shit that's happened lately, and the police department just seemingly wants to brush it all under the rug. It's not just obviously in Finnish either, or Finland. It's all over the world. The UK, Australia, wherever it may be. These situations, they have been very much washed under the rug, for a lack of a better word. I get why people are fed up. I get why people are upset. I'm not going to justify it. I think that it's obviously inciting violence is a bad thing. But I understand why some people might be upset. And people are going to get frustrated. And this is what I've been saying for years now. That at the end of the day, if the police department doesn't do something, somebody else is going to. And that's not a threat, okay? YouTube, it's not a threat. It's an observation. That at the end of the day, if the police department won't do something, the next thing that's likely to happen is that people will go through and form vigilante groups to take the matter into their own hands. And this is where sometimes innocent people get mistaken identity or whatever it may be, and they get hurt. So this is what I've been trying to avoid. And it seems like I've been beating my head into a brick wall because it's actually happening. And this is, the police department have been constantly ignoring these situations. And at the end of the day, we are getting more and more vigilante groups pop up all over the world because of this shit that the police department are ignoring. Oh my God, if only someone had called it a few years ago. And this is why look, yeah, I get why they're frustrated. I get why they're taking matters in their own hands. I don't agree with it, but I understand why they're doing it. You know, like I said, the police department won't deal with it. Normally, the next thing that happens is the public will. But the problem is that when the public gets involved, sometimes there are innocent people that get confused. Innocent people get accused of things, and it sort of gets out of control. But I don't know. The closest thing. Yeah. Sorry. Nick says in chat. I think it was Nick, was it? No, 7 grams. 7 grams says in chat. The closest thing to a Bezos gets to taxes. Good luck, Nick. Yeah, fair point. I think Jeff Bezos, I think he does pay tax, but yeah, obviously he'll be minimizing as much as he can. So yeah, like I say, look, I really don't have a problem with Nick Sandman going after these guys from the Washington Post. It's about time they got taught a lesson or two. Most vigilantes are never good. Trauma begets trauma. Yeah, that's exactly what I've been meaning. That's what I've been. Best way of saying it. Actually, you said it better than I did, 7. But yeah, that's my problem. Is at the end of the day, masked vigilantes groups, they get out of control. But at the end of the day, I understand why they're doing this. I don't agree with it, but I understand why. They are literally having their countries torn apart by rapists and murderers. You know, like, who is surprised at this point? But I don't know. Not me. Alright, Alexandria Cortez responds after report accuses her of Green New Deal hypocrisy. I also fly and use air conditioning. Sadly, not the only story about Alexandria Cortez today. Let me see if I can find the other one. Yeah. Alright, we'll do this one, then we'll talk about the other story too. Alexandria Cortez responded Sunday night after published report exonerated the freshman congresswoman for pushing her new green initiative while still traveling on airplanes and using ride-sharing services instead of green travel methods such as public transport. The piece mentioned that the New York Democrat called in January for more sustainable energy solution. The world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change, she said at the time. But the woman whose boasts for razor-sharp BS detector seems to have trouble sniffing out her own. The New York Post responded, since declaring her candidacy in May 2017, Alexandria Cortez's campaign heavily relied on those combustible engine cars, although the subway station was just 138 feet from her Queens campaign office. She listed 1,049 transactions for Uber, Lyft, and Juno, and other car services. Federal filings show the campaign had 505 Uber expenses alone. Instead of embracing cheaper and less green travel methods, Alexandria Cortez lodged 66 airline transactions during her 2008 campaign, while only using Amtrak 18 times, according to the Post. Cortez responded on Twitter arguing that I live in the world that isn't as argumentative against working towards a better future. I also fly and use conditioner, because tweeted or wrote, the Green New Deal is about putting a lot of people to work in developing new technologies, building new infrastructure, and getting us to 100% renewable energy. The Green New Deal is an economic stimulus package designed to address income inequality, healthcare, and climate change. The concept, modeled after President B. Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal package through Public Works program, could be funded through 70% tax on American top earners, which would cause them to leave the country, and then they'd have to tax the next top 70%. But anyway, Alexandria Cortez has been a fierce advocate of addressing climate change. She recently questioned whether young couples should have children, given the devastating consequences facing Earth. Sat has just jumped in, but you guys can't hear him, so they can't hear you at the moment, man. Just give me a sec. Facing Earth unless unprecedented effort is made in reducing carbon emissions by 2030. Alright. So I can hear you now. How are you, buddy?
Hello, everyone. Hey, good, good. I'm not too late, am I?
No. About 45 minutes. But don't worry.
Oh, wow, okay.
But don't worry, we've still got a whole stack of news, so it's all good.
No worries.
Alexandria Cortez. She uses Aircon. She uses Lyft. She uses Uber. She hasn't seen that green, man.
No, that doesn't sound very green at all.
No. Thoughts?
Unless she's only taking Ubers that use electric cars.
Well, that's a possibility. She had 505 Uber expenses alone, out of 1,049. She's also flying using the, bad aeroplanes that she wants, while only using the Amtrak 13 times. 18 times, sorry.
Yeah, that sounds a bit hypocritical.
Yeah. How's your space engineers?
Going well. Yeah, I was hanging out with the guys in their Discord, just getting to know them.
Yep. Yeah, I said to everybody that you're playing Space Engineers and you were going to jump in when you had a chance. So, yeah. Alright, back to the news. So in the comments, AOC answers casting call to run for Congress, Area 17, Ground Zero, YouTube. I don't know what Jeffrey means there. She answers casting call to run for Congress, Area 17, Ground Zero, YouTube. I don't know what he means there. There's no such thing as bad publicity. Imitating Trump is the highest form of flattering Trump. I don't know who's flattering Trump or imitating Trump, but oh, AOC maybe.
Possibly. I think a lot of people do actually try to draw parallels between AOC and Trump, don't they?
Well, there is.
Well, yeah, I know there are parallels.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's
Like, you know, you've got. Yeah.
she's a populist on the left. He's a populist on the right.
Well, no, she's not a populist. She's
No, she
identity
is.
politics.
Yeah, but she's still a populist.
Interesting combination.
She's doing what the people on the left want her to do. The people on the left have gone through and they support this whole climate change and everything like that and all this sort of shit. That's why she's running on it. I'll tell you now, if it wasn't a popular, she would not be running.
You're saying she's a shill for whatever people want her to do.
Well, that's what populists do. So with Trump. Trump would not be running on Build the Wall if his base didn't want him to build it. It's not a bad thing.
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe he. Well, what if Trump really believes in building the wall?
Well, he does. He probably does.
Because he wants to help America, you know.
But at the end of the day, the thing is that if his base did not want him to build the wall, he wouldn't have run on it, regardless of his own personal opinion. And that's what a populist is. A populist goes with the public or the personal opinion of their demographics or their base. For example, if I was to run for politics, don't get any ideas, anybody. I was going to say I would be a populist because the same thing. I would run on what my fans or what my base would want.
It makes a lot of sense, yes. The thing is, I suppose, if I ran for politics, like if I did, and I don't know, maybe one day I might, I don't know. I don't think I would pander to anyone. I'd just run on what I truly believe, and if people vote me, they do, and if they don't, well, I guess I'll just not go back.
Yeah, it's not really so much as pandering. It's more supporting what your base wants. It's more about listening to the people.
I understand what you mean, yeah. And I suppose once I got I don't know, maybe if I did get in, I'm not sure if I would. I don't know.
You're hearing breaking news here, everybody. Satellite is going to be running for politics.
Maybe I might one day.
He's just confirmed it. He's just confirmed it.
Satellite, no, I haven't
Satellite
confirmed
for
it.
2030.
I've thought about it in the past. That's all I'm saying.
Satellite for 2030, everybody. There you
go.
But the funny thing is that Greenpeace founder has called Representative Alexandria Cortez pompous little twit. I'm starting to like him all of a sudden. The co-founder of the environmental activist group Greenpeace tore apart New York Democrat Representative Alexandria Cortez's Green New Deal on Tuesday, on Twitter Monday. Sorry, I'm getting a really bad echo of myself.
Oh, sorry. Let me turn down the headphones.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah. Patrick Moore began his online feud with Alexandria Cortez on Saturday, and since then has tweeted. His tweets have attracted the attention of both opponents and the proponents of the Green New Deal, and aims to reduce the United States greenhouse gases within the decade. So, after calling the freshman congresswoman a pompous little twit for insulting American listeners to her ideas of perish, Moore called her Green New Deal completely crazy. If fossil fuels were banned, every tree in the world would be cut down for fuel for cooking and heating, Moore wrote Alexandria Cortez on Saturday. You would bring about mass death and also suggest the ludicrousy to compare climate change to World War II. I'm starting to like him. I really am. The founder of Greenpeace in 1970s, Moore headed Greenpeace Canada, but partnered ways with the group when he says it was hijacked by extremist left, following the publishing book Confessions of Greenpeace Dropout, the making of sensible environmentalists, Greenpeace routinely dismisses more. More remain Alexandria Cortez that she hasn't explained how she plans to grow food for 8 billion people without fossil fuels and to get food into their cities. He also called Alexandria Cortez a garden variety hypocrite after the New York Post dissed her having a huge carbon footprint while telling other people to insure cars and airports. You're just a garden variety hypocrite like the others. You have zero expertise in any of those things that you pretend to know, Moore said. Alexandria Cortez responded to criticisms of a Green New Deal on Sunday, tweeting, "Living in the world as it is isn't an argument against the working towards a better future. The Green New Deal is about putting a lot of people to work and developing new technologies, building new infrastructure, and getting us 100% renewable energy." And I still have an echo. Look, at the end of the day, I think it's kind of funny.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. I still have that echo.
I would have no idea how to get rid of it, and I've turned everything down.
Really? Because normally it's not a problem. What have you changed?
Nothing.
I don't know. Anyway. Do you think she's a pompous little twit?
Yes.
So do I, actually.
Yes. Yeah.
I reckon he has a point. She's a hypocrite. At the end of the day, she literally goes on about, you know, getting rid of airplanes and fighting cows and everything along those lines. But yet she lives in an air-conditioned house. Well, I presume it's an air-conditioned house. She also talks about, you know, for example, I don't have an echo anymore. She also talks about, for example, you know, like flying on the airplane instead of the Amtrak. She does a lot of the stuff that supposedly she's against. So that makes her a hypocrite to me.
Basically it, yeah. She does, but then again, I actually find it interesting what she said there, though, and I actually kind of have to give her credit. Her rebuke was intelligent. Living in the world as it is not an excuse to not change it.
Yeah, but do you think that
she worded it? Yeah.
But do you think she really wrote that, or someone else wrote it for her?
She probably got told to say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the rebuke was intelligent, though. That was actually that's.
Yeah, but it's standard bullshit.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if you really were pro-environment, like she's claiming, if you really had a problem with environmental impacts and stuff like that, you wouldn't go flying in a plane if you had to, or unless you had to. You would go catching the more than 19 times, or whatever it was she supposedly caught.
Yeah. I suppose,
and she literally lives... Oh, sorry, I was going to say, she literally lives 138 feet away from the subway, and she still catches Uber. And the subway takes her directly to her freaking office. Like, there's literally a stop right near her office. There is
Could she actually use the subway, though, being a well-known person like her?
Well, that's true, too. She probably couldn't. But, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
I don't think she could actually use the subway.
Yeah, and look, obviously I'm not saying she should. But what I'm saying is, if you actually believed it, if you actually believed in everything that you're spouting, you would go through and you'd make those concessions.
Yes. There are many concessions she could use.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah. And speaking of air conditioning, fill in the air for 5 seconds because I've got to turn mine on because I'm sweating. Give me a sec.
Oh, gosh. Look at that carbon footprint. I may as well turn mine on soon as well. Add to the greenhouse.
Okay, I'm back.
And I, on my electricity bill, I actually don't pay the higher tier to have more green power. So, yep.
No, but you're not running on an environmental platform, are you?
No.
No. I'm actually probably more green than you are. I've got solar on my roof.
Yeah, although I have criticised you for not using it correctly.
What do you mean using it correctly?
if you to use solar panels correctly, you need to have a battery bank.
Yeah, but when I got my solar installed, the battery banks weren't an option.
They've always been an option.
You couldn't put them in Metro.
You can go and buy the batteries. And
you couldn't. Yeah. No, you couldn't put them in Metro.
No, you can. You go.
Now you can, but back then you couldn't. There was laws.
You could always order the batteries and
no,
hook them
you
up yourself.
Yeah, sure. But as for them getting professionally installed, the battery systems weren't actually feasible at that time.
I'm not professionally installed.
Yeah, and also back then the government actually had laws that would actually stop people from installing those battery banks because they would quote explode. Since the law has changed, but yeah. But
no, yeah. I wouldn't listen to. I would have just. I mean, I'm actually looking. Not this year, but next year I'm having my mate come up, and he's a professional installer. He's licensed and everything. Not in this state though, but I don't really care. He's gonna come up and give me a hand. We're gonna set it all up. Battery bank.
Is this the same mate that we both know?
We know of him, but he's gonna help me out. Yeah.
Is this the friend that we?
He knows what he's doing. He's been doing it for years. Yeah. And then after that, once I have it running off grid for a few months and everything is going great, I'll just disconnect from the main line.
So that's going to end up in jail. All right, let's go on the next story.
Why?
We'll talk about it off air. Republican look, obviously your friend and I have a bit of a difference of opinion when it comes to this sort of stuff. I think he's a commie. But at the end of the day, we'll talk about it off air. Republican Ilhan Omar comment was vile anti-Semitic slur, top foreign affairs Dems say. Hey, look at that. More Democrats, or the same Democrats actually, are in trouble yet again for more racist anti-Semitic slurs. Who would have thought?
This is the latest Ilhan Omar one,
right? Yeah, that one.
Yeah, actually, that is not anti-Semitic.
Really?
I had a look at that. She was just complaining about lobbying, but of course they had to complain about that.
Well, at the end of the day, I think it was still anti-Semitic, but no, hang on. So hang on, the lobbying, we haven't got into it yet, so I don't know what she said, because like I've said, I don't read these ahead of time because I want my action to be real. But I was going to say, wasn't the lobbying like months ago? Is this the same lobbying thing that she said, or? No,
it was a recent one today or yesterday.
Oh, okay. Well, let's jump into it. Then we'll talk about what she said, and we'll see what they have to say. The top Democrat on House Foreign Affairs Committee said Friday that a recent comment by freshman U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar, getting that name wrong, I don't care, but that one, Democrat in Minnesota, was also served on the panel, represented a vile anti-Semitic slur, according to reports. U.S. Representative Elliot Eagle, who's a Democrat in New York, by the way, so it's them attacking their own, chairman of the House panel, and then called Omar to apologize for her remarks, which was made at an event in Washington earlier this week. I want to talk about the political influence in this country that says it's okay for people to push for allegiances to foreign countries, Omar, who is Muslim, said in apparent referral to Israel. I want to ask why it's okay for me to talk about the influence of NRA or fossil fuel industries or big pharma and not talk about the powerful lobbying movement that is influencing policy. So Eagle issued a revoke of her comment on late Friday, saying they amounted to a vile anti-Semitic slur. Eagle, who is Jewish, I welcome debate in Congress based on the merits of policy, but it's unacceptable and deeply offensive to call in question the loyalty of a few American citizens because of their political views, including support for the US-Israel relationship. Her comments outrageous and deeply hurtful, and I ask that she retracts them, apologise, and commit to making her case on policy issues without resorting to attacks that have place in the Foreign Affairs Committee of the House of Representatives. Has also said in the event that she is fearful of her religion affiliates would get in the way of meaningful discussions. What I'm fearful is that a lot of our Jewish colleagues who have our constitutions, also our allegiance to allies, go to thinking that everything we say about Israel to be anti-Semitic because we are Muslim, she says. But it's almost as if every single time we say something, regardless of what we say, we get labelled something and it ends up in the discussion. I do find it really, really funny that she's actually talking, a Democrat is talking about how she gets labelled as everything just for simply mentioning a fact. Okay, so do you think her comment was anti-Semitic?
No.
No.
Because you go first, then I'll say why.
Alright, so my response to that would be, if she was talking about every lobbying group, if she was going to be talking about every corporation, every country that lobbies the US, and we're not just talking about one here, right? You're going to tell me that Saudi Arabia and all these sort of countries and all that don't lobby the US as well?
Oh, no. Yeah, she's not being anti-Semitic, but she's also not being completely honest. Like, okay, it's true. She didn't bring up the Muslim lobbying groups.
Exactly.
She brought up all the others, like Big Pharma, all them, which is absolutely true, though.
Yes.
So she didn't lie. She lied by omitting the Muslim part of it, but that's fine. Everything else she said was...
But at the end of the day... Well, okay, but the thing is that, and this is my point, and I'll just turn you up a little bit. This is my point, is if she had mentioned Muslims and Jewish and Pharma and everybody, if she talked regardless of political affiliations or religion or whatever it may be, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But the fact that she keeps talking, and she's kept going on, the fourth time now, that she's literally gone on about Jewish influence in the US policies, that to me is what makes it seemingly anti-Semitic, because she's focusing on them. She's not even focusing on Pharma. She said, why is it that I can bring up things like, for example, Big Pharma, but I can't talk about Israel?
Yeah,
right?
good point.
Paraphrasing. So at the end of the day, the fact is that you are only focusing on Israel, which, and let's face it, Muslims and Jews have a problem with history. And to me, that's what makes it anti-Semitic, is the fact that she's only focusing on them. She's not focusing on Iran or Iraq or the UK or Australia or any other country. She's only talking about Israel.
Fair point. Fair point. If you look at her as a package deal, I suppose I would have to say yes. As a package deal, she's an anti-Semite.
You don't tell me who...
This one comment in a vacuum, I don't see it as anti-Semitic.
No. But she has had a few of them.
If you want to say that she herself is, I would say she is.
Yeah, so I don't think the comment is anti-Semitic. I think herself, I think she's bringing up the comment because she is anti-Semitic. And this is not the first time that she's done it. She's brought it up 3 or 4 times now. And my argument is why do you keep bringing up the Jewish influence, but you won't talk about any other influence? That, to me, makes it sound like she is anti-Semitic, especially considering the background and the history and everything. To me, that actually makes it sound anti-Semitic. Like I said, if she had brought up other countries as well, or if she brings up other countries regularly, I wouldn't give 2 shits. But when she starts bringing up just Israel constantly, she keeps banging on that drum, it is very easy for me to understand why people think she's anti-Semitic.
Oh yeah. There's something there about her that definitely she wants to rail on she wants to rail on Israel quite a bit.
Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, it would be cool if they would address that, like, oh my god, if Congress was actually to go on about the lobbying issue in general, though, that would be nice. So
But
I
we
kind of
know they
agree
won't
with
do
her
that.
there. Well, so she's right about that, though. Yeah.
She's right, but she's also right. Well, she's right, but she's leaving out. She's right, but she's biased. There's maybe a better way of saying it.
She probably needs to figure out a better way to go on about her point.
Well, she probably needs to bring up her own country, for example, or her own allegiances.
Yes, she would have a bias on her allegiances, I assume.
Yeah. And that's where I sort of, obviously this is where me and the alt-right have a bit of a difference, They seem to be, I don't always see complicit with the Muslims, but literally when you get the head of the alt-right coming out and defending this girl and saying that she's right and that, and sticking up for his fellow Muslim, to me, that tends to get a little bit concerning. Because, like, well, why are you, you're supposed to be, yes, we know they have a problem with the Jewish history and everything like that, but it seems like they are picking the Muslims over the Jews, and with discussions with certain members, an enemy of my enemy is my friend. Well, not really.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see where they're coming from there, but I mean, you do have to realize that some enemies can be more powerful than others.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that there's also some enemies that are trying to do things under the radar as well. That there's some enemies that are apparently at the moment who are trying to, how do you say this? Trying to influence policy via taking positions in government.
Yes. Yes, I agree with you there.
Alright. Now, if you want a funny story to break up the seriousness, though before we do that, just in chat, Ralph says global government needs power to tax. Jeffrey says. Jeffrey also says, question: can you criticize Israel without being labelled? I would say, Jeff, yes, as long as you criticize everybody and you're not just criticizing them. And that's where I have a bit of a problem with this, for example.
I would like to add something a little to that.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't be you should be able to criticize somebody without having to do the whataboutism all the time, though.
True.
You know what I mean? Or do you want me to expand on what I'm trying to say?
No, I know what you mean. Yeah. You mean that you shouldn't have to be able to. You shouldn't be labelled anti-Semitic, for example, because you're constantly talking about Israel, and you're not talking about what about these other guys.
Well, yeah, you can agree with that, right? So, like, I have family members who will be like, you're always on about this one thing, so like, but all of these things are just the same, and I'm like, we can actually criticize all of them at once, but we only have the resources to take on one at a time.
But do you really think that this Omar is
No, I'm not. Yeah, well, I'm not talking about her.
No.
Yeah.
Do you really think, and this is a question for Jeffrey in chat, do you really think that she will ever criticize Israel, not only Israel, but like, for example, Saudi Arabia for lobbying the US government? Do you think that she will turn on her own, so to speak? And that's what my argument or my story on this would be, is that at the end of the day, if she was going on about lobbying from everybody else as well as not just Israel, then I would say, look, it's all fair in war. But at the end of the day, she seemingly has a laser focus on Israel, and considering the history between Muslims and Jews, and especially even at the moment with like the whole Palestine and Israel thing, I would say that this is more about her being biased because of her history. I don't think this is coming from a vacuum. I don't think this is someone who has grown up without, you know, and she said anti-Semitic things. So, yeah, I would say if you want to criticize everybody or anybody else, even, then I have a problem with you going after Israel. But because she solely goes after Israel constantly, when is lobbying too powerful? Well, dude, you know, Saudi Arabia buys how many millions or hundreds of millions of dollars of guns from the US? You're going to tell me that lobbying there doesn't buy them favors?
Yeah, Saudi Arabia buys a lot of guns from Israel and the US.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, a lot of the gun testing is done in Israel too. People accuse Israel of selling, because they sell a lot of their weapons and they say battle tested. They accuse them of using the Gaza Strip as the battle testing ground. It is an accusation. It is not proven.
Anyway, but yeah, like I say, look, at the end of the day, I think there is a lot of different companies or countries that lobby the US. And at the end of the day, I think the reason why she's focusing on one particular country is because of bias. That's what makes her anti-Semitic. It's not just the fact that, you know, like, you know, hey, this is the only country causing a problem. There are plenty of other countries that cause problems. But yeah. Funny story for the day. Meet the Press put out a tweet, and I'm going to read this word for word. Latest, Senator Mark Warburn, Democrat, Virginia, tells Cuck Todd the lawmakers have found enormous evidence of possibly collusion between President Trump's orbit and Russia during the election on hashtag Meet the Press, hashtag Lift Sunday, and then I link to the mbcnews.to/whatever. They actually wrote Cuck, C-U-C-K, instead of Chuck, C-H-U-C-K. Now look, at the end of the day, an honest mistake to make. You know, it's simply leaving a letter out. But I don't know. What do you reckon? Mistake, or do you reckon they just don't and someone thought it was funny and someone's probably going to get fired over this?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I find it funny. I don't really know. I mean, I would say just a slap on the wrist, but hey, that's just because I actually find it funny.
True. You don't reckon they're going to fire him?
Oh, they'll probably fire him.
Yeah. I reckon he's probably been shown the door over at Meet the Press.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's something you get away with that easily.
It is funny though.
Oh, it was a spelling mistake. Yeah.
Sorry, I was watching porn, and you know, I was watching cuckolding, and there was an accident, I swear. Sort of thing. Maybe, I don't know. See how it goes. Try that one.
Yeah.
Trump serves Chick-fil-A sandwiches and Big Macs to North Dakota State football players. He's done it again. He's going to trigger the media. So President Donald Trump continued his tradition of serving fast food to athletes visiting the White House, this time offering the North Dakota State University, NDSU, Boston football team, Chick-fil-A chicken sandwiches, McDonald's Big Macs, and French fries. The president previously served McDonald's Wednesday burgers and Burger King and pizza to the Clem University Tigers after they won the college football national championship. The press criticized Trump's choice of food, which he personally paid for, but many players defended their trip to the White House. Trump, clearly uninterrupted by the media's coverage of the Clem visit, opted to bring out fast food again Monday for the NDSU players, who recently won the football championship subdivision title. There is a lot of food on that table. There is a lot of fast food.
Why does he do that? I've never heard of
him.
like US presidents buying fast food for functions. It's quite bizarre.
Well, you got to remember, he, you know, like the thing was that when he was on the American campaign, that they tried to criticize him because he would go to bed and eat KFC. He loves his fast food. Like, rumor was that he was knocking down KFC while laying in bed.
Apparently also, he likes to eat his steaks well done with ketchup, which is actually funny. I didn't even know exactly how this worked, but I mean, I love ketchup myself. Tomato sauce or ketchup, I'll always take the ketchup. But you eat well done steaks with ketchup because the meat doesn't taste that great, because usually it's cheap meat. Excuse me. And then you put the ketchup on it to help with the flavor.
I got
and
a
that
joke.
shows
I got a joke when you finished.
Yeah, and that's why, because it doesn't taste that great, and so cheap meat you got to cook it through because it's a health thing, and the ketchup helps with the flavor. And so yeah, and it shows his culture then, Trump culture, which is to be, you know, it's coming from a poor place. Yeah.
I got a joke for you.
Sure.
What do you say to the tomato that's too slow?
The tomato that's too slow?
Yeah. What do you say to a tomato that's too slow?
No idea.
Ketchup.
What? Okay.
As for Trump, dad jokes are us. But yeah.
Well, I'll give you a dad joke. What's a poodle's favorite shampoo?
I had no idea.
Shampoodle.
Oh my god. Alright, I thought mine was bad. Alright. Trump's Big Macs and Chick-fil-A's. I kind of like the president doing this. It shows him down to earth.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Chick-fil-A right now, actually.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Good luck to you, Trump, I suppose. Be my response. I don't know. But anyway. Jumping on to the next story. Nadella unleashes massive document request into threats against rule of law. So the House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadella requested a number of documents from the White House and is sending letters seeking information from people and organizations close to President Trump on Monday. Jeffrey says paid out of own money Trump. Yes, Jeffrey, he did. I don't know about this time, but last time, all the fast food that he actually spent was actually paid from his own money. Yep. House Judiciary Committee, Neither was sending a request to the 81 groups, people and organizations searching for congressional abuses and corruption by Trump. The New York Democrat said Sunday that the request for documents are to begin investigations to represent the case of the American people about obstruction of justice and corruption and abuse of power. The 81 names, groups and organizations who received letters from the committee, including names such as former White House Communications Director Hope Hicks, Trump's eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., Trump Organization, former Attorney General Jeff Sessions, and many more. There's a list on the screen. Paul Manafort is on there. Michael Flynn is on there. Michael Flynn Jr. Michael Cohen is on there. Carter Page. It's interesting. Donald Trump Jr. Donald Trump's Trust. Basically it's I would say at the end of the day, it's them desperately trying to find something to get rid of Trump. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, they just keep going after silly shit like that.
Hmm. It just seems like it's a huge overreach to me.
Yeah. They go after non-traversies.
Yeah.
It's my new favorite word, one.
Non-traversies. Yeah, I like it too, actually. Look, at the end of the day, to me, this is basically them going through, trying to claim that Trump is corrupt, trying to find something so they can impeach him. Because at the end of the day, they just want to get rid of Trump. Trump derangement syndrome. And they just can't handle the fact that he's still a president, so they're just trying to get rid of him any way they can. And at the moment, it's maybe he's corrupt, but the whole Russia thing has fallen apart, which is why we don't keep hearing about it. So they're sitting there thinking, well, yeah, maybe he's corrupt. That would be my impression of it all.
Yeah, they're trying to find links to corruption. They dig and dig and dig. I mean, it must be a horrible life that you would have to be so careful right now, because they'll take anything. But I mean, I haven't seen the media go on too much about for real bad corruption that AOC has done. Like, it seems like she might actually be in a lot of trouble right now.
With that whole her boyfriend working for her thing. Yeah. I haven't. Funny enough, that didn't actually come up on my trending list. I have a program that automatically cures the internet and brings up what's popular and what's trending and stuff like that. That wasn't actually mentioned.
Well,
but
not a surprise, I guess.
But yeah, I was going to say, but at the end of the day, there has been sort of a story going around that for quite a while. So, yeah. But yeah, just checking it again now. Nothing really about. Yeah, nothing really about her and her controversies. So, but anyway, let's jump into it. Let's keep going. Photos, Bibles, crosses left untouched after fire destroys West Virginia church. So, a fire destroyed nearly everything inside West Virginia church except for a cross, several Bibles left untouched by the flames. So you can see here in the photo, everything is pretty much trashed. Everything is just absolutely ruined by this fire, except the cross is still there, and the Bibles are completely fine. That is pretty impressive. Firefighters searching through the rubble after...
Must be a miracle.
Yeah. Firefighters searching through the rubble after the blaze say the inferno burnt nearly everything inside the Free Ministers Church in Grandview, West Virginia on Sunday, except for the Bibles and the church cross, all left unscathed by flames. The fire officials say that they are scratching their heads, trying to figure out how the flames did not destroy a single page of the Bible within the church. Picture this, a building so hot at one point in time, firefighters had to back out. You mind everything that you should be burnt, ashes, not a single Bible was burnt, not a single cross was harmed, single firefighter was hurt. The Coal City Fire Department posted Sunday on Facebook. No injuries had been reported after the fire, which is currently under investigation, authorities say. Find that interesting. The Bible and crosses are not only religious items to have survived the church and fire. In December 2018, a Texas man's personal Bible was the only item to survive a fire that burnt everything else in his home. A painting of Jesus housed inside a 150-year-old Baptist church in Massachusetts survived an October fire that destroyed everything else inside the church. Thoughts?
Kind
Kind of eerie?
Yeah, seems pretty cool that the cross and the Bible didn't get burnt. Almost makes you wonder. Maybe they're investigating it because, um, maybe. Well, why would they investigate it? Like, do they think it's arson or something? Like maybe
Yeah,
the
I'd
devil
imagine that's the
lit the
reason.
fire.
I'd imagine that's the reason they suspect arson.
Yeah. So could the arsonist actually be the devil, and God protected his cross and balls?
Oh, I think the arsonist is more likely a person that's pissed off at the church. Now, I'm not saying that God didn't protect his Bibles and his cross and stuff like that. I'm not saying he did. I'm not saying he didn't. But at the end of the day, I do find it very interesting that the only thing survived were the crosses and the Bibles. And we also had for example, another example where the only thing that survived a house fire was a Bible. And also we had the Baptist church that went up, and the only thing that survived that was the painting of Jesus. It is kind of interesting. No, look, it could be coincidence, it could be miracles, it could be whatever you want. I do find it interesting. We're back on. Right, we were connected. Alright, yeah, sorry about that, guys. Apparently we got booted off. We started talking about God and we got booted off. But yeah, 5 additional cases of mumps have been identified among detention facility employees. The outlet also reported. Laura Anung, a spokeswoman for the Texas Department of State Health Services, told Amoroso's ABC7 in an email that patients ranging from 13 to 66, and that there has been no report of transmission to the community, well, which is a lot of crap because you've literally just said there was also members of your facility, employees, that have also been reported. But anyway, Anon added that officials do not know the vaccination status of the adult detainees, nor children travelling with those adults. Unaccompanied minors, on the other hand, are vaccinated when they are detained. 7 cases of mumps were identified in Houston Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE facility in early February, according to the Associated Press. Now, since then, we have also heard that 200 cases of mumps were confirmed in Texas immigration detention centers. I think it's the same case. It's just they've revised the numbers. Yeah, it is. Yep. So officials within the Texas Department of State Health Services stated that 186 people in the immigration detention centers located in Texas had confirmed cases of mumps. The case impacted the immigrants, adults, and minors, as well as detention centers workers. There have been no reports of transmission of mumps to the community, the state services spokeswoman Laura Tone told the news outlet. But yeah, mumps has reached a high of 191 in 2016. Officials stated, the highest number in 22 years. It seems like we seemingly get more and more immigrants heading up to the US, and all of a sudden there seems to be more and more cases of mumps and diseases and stuff.
I've seen most of the stories actually will avoid that topic completely and blame it on anti-vaxxers. I find ridiculous because the number of people who are anti-vaxxers is such a small percentage. And then what they'll do also to inflate the stats is actually they bring up 1 or 2 particular states in America where they have a 30% no-vax rate and say that is somehow representative of what's going on at the other side of the country. And
it's funny you should talk about that. Because I've got 2 news articles coming up here that are literally talking about there's no link between MMR vaccine and autism.
Oh, okay.
So it looks like they're already trying to go through and have a shot at the anti-vaxxers already. So I wouldn't be surprised if they actually were the subject of a hit piece in the next day or 2. or another study finds no link between autism, measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. Seems like they're really harping on about these anti-vaxxers right now. But look, at the end of the day, as for this, I would say, look, do we know what the vaccination rate is when it comes to these third world countries?
Pretty low, mostly because of poverty.
So the US is at the moment trying to stop people who are coming to the borders who have a low vaccination rate because of, well, poverty, who seemingly are carrying a whole bunch of diseases with them.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I don't know. Trump talks about it on a different level. He more complains about it being jobs and stuff. Yeah, he doesn't really go on about the disease side of things.
But that would be a
but
concern.
it's a factor though. It's an important thing to consider. They really should be talking about the disease side of it because, like, they basically eradicated the measles in America. You know.
True.
It was a thing of the past, but now suddenly it's all over the place. Gee, I wonder why. It's not just the It's not just anti-vaxxers that cause it. You know, it's the people coming into the country.
Well, apparently the Americans do say on their immigration, you know, let me take your sick, and well, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, last story, second last story actually. So a large migrant group crossing the border barrier into Arizona. Patrol agents in Arizona continue to be overwhelmed by large migrant group who exploited the outdated fence technology to gain entry into the US from Mexico. You know, the Aljo station agents patrolling west of the Lukeville port of entry on Saturday encountered a large group of migrants illegally crossing an outdated vehicle barrier. The migrants crossed in small groups until they eventually surpassed 100, US Customs Borders officials tweeted. The photo was shown to a large group, mostly Central American migrants with very young children, who brought to the area by the cartel connection human smugglers. Border Patrol provided an intimate medical screening to determine if any of the migrants needed medical attention. The migrants then are transported to the Arrow station, where they undergo a background investigation to look for any prior criminal or immigration history. They just keep coming, don't they? Yeah. Last story has actually been to be close for home for us, and I'm actually interested in what you have to say about this. Exclusive: Sydney man kicked out of Uber for being gay. Now, have you heard about this story by any chance?
Nope.
Okay. So a Sydney man claims that he and his friend were kicked out of an Uber because of their sexuality, just days after the city's Jamboree Mardi Gras celebrations. Aaron Brown, 27, says he was abruptly told to leave the ride-sharing car after his friend Ryan kissed him on the forehead during their trip yesterday. The friends had been travelling from Potts Port to Mr. Brown's home in Zella at around 5 p.m. were instead forced out of the busy Eastern distributor. We reached South Darwin Street and I was resting my head on Ryan's shoulders, Mr. Brown told 9news.com.au. He kissed me on the forehead and the driver immediately turned around and said, "Not in my car. You're not driving. I'm not driving you anymore. Get out of my car." We were just dumbfounded and thought the joke, so we questioned him why. Now, he repeated himself and said, I can't drive you anymore. This is my car and I'm not driving you. Talking about this, Mr. Oatley filmed part of the interaction with the driver and has demanded to know why their trip was ending. Quote, "I don't want to take you. You can book another cab," the driver appears to say in the video. In the message to Mr. Brown, Uber offered a refund to the cost of the trip. This isn't the regular Uber experience and shouldn't have to put up with this kind of inappropriate behaviour, the apology read in part. Uber will be looking into this trip and taking the appropriate steps to ensure this experience doesn't continue. Our technology is a two-way street for both riders and driver partners, and drivers' partners that behave inappropriate may have their access removed. The response left Mr. Brown bitter after what had been a joyous Mardi Gras weekend. We felt shocked and upset. Something so innocent and to be treated like scum, he said. Mardi Gras is a time for celebration, acceptance, and behaviour is unacceptable. The driver should not be on the road at all. Uber's response seemed very generic. I expected a phone call at least to double check that we were okay. Mr. Brown said that his previous experience with Uber had been greatly positive. Another friend of Mr. Otto's was also subject to homophobic comments from a driver during the Mardi Gras. It's just really sad this is still happening in 2019, Mr. Brown said. Uber, which has changed its routine maps to rainbows to celebrate the Mardi Gras this weekend, touts its own Uber Pride resource group to promote inclusion and diversity of its LGBT plus employees. A spokeswoman for the ride-sharing service told 9.news.au, Uber does not tolerate any form of discrimination. Our community guidelines explicitly prohibit discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and make it clear to drivers' partners that this behaviour can result in them losing access to their Uber app, she said. At Uber, we rely and reflect on the diversity of the cities we serve, and we're proud to roll out rainbow routes during Mardi Gras weekend to show our support for the LGBTQI community. Now, there's a reason why I wanted to read that whole story. Can you guess the nationality of the Uber driver?
Oh, that was going to be my first question.
Who do you think it was?
I would say it's either Indian or Pakistan.
Alright, so I don't know about the nationality. I know the religion. And
okay.
And it's that lovely religion of peace. But here's the thing.
Oh, yes.
In that whole story,
it never mentions it.
Did you hear them reference the driver's name, the driver's religion, where the driver's from, or anything like that?
No, they didn't.
No. Funny that, isn't it?
Yeah, because they just want to make Australia and Australians. They want to keep up this crazy narrative that Australians are racist and homophobes. They constantly at it about that, and I mean, come on, man, it's ridiculous.
Now, the reason I know this guy is Muslim is because of the video. They have linked the video, and I'm going to play the video for you now. You won't be able to hear it, but the guys on the chat, they will. So let's play that.
Okay.
Why? Excuse me.
I don't want to take you. I can book another cab.
We'll get there. Are you joking?
Right, and that was it. Now, they've even gone to the extreme of actually blurring out the guy's face.
Oh, God. Really?
Now, the only thing you see on the face is the side of the cheek. It's not like you could really find out who this guy is because he never turns his head.
There was nothing.
Right? All you see is just the back of his head sort of thing, right? So why would they go trying to hide the guy's face when you don't actually see it anyway? Is my question. Like,
yeah.
To me, I think you are right on the money. That this is them going through trying to make out that Australia is racist. Like they literally say, like here, like for example,
homophobic.
Yeah, or it's homophobic. Sorry, that that I can't believe this happens in 2019. But it's funny because you don't mention where the driver is from.
Mm-hmm. They don't.
Funny that, isn't it? But yeah,
That's all. It's what they. They just want to. They just keep going at Australian culture all the time.
But this is the culture that they actually bring into the country.
That's right. It's like, for example, you know how violence against women is a big thing at the moment. In the government propaganda. You hear about it all the time and on the news and stuff. The interesting thing is that if you look into the statistics of the religion of the people doing the domestic violence, so in fact domestic violence is at an all-time low with Australians if you filter out the religion of peace.
Yeah. Look at it's and like for example, also like we go through and we can talk about the recent gay plebiscite. The states or the suburbs that had the highest amount of people voting no for that were actually high immigration areas that were mostly from Muslim countries. It seems like there might be a agenda here. That maybe that this loving and peaceful, tolerant religion that we're trying to bring into the country, or that they're trying to bring into the country, isn't so loving, tolerant, and peaceful. I don't know. Let me know. Yeah. Apart from that, that's where I basically want to wrap it up today because my internet is literally driving me nuts. Apart from that, do you have anything else to add?
No, I feel like I'm good. How about you? Anything?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Really good. Apart from that, guys, obviously, look, I apologise for the internet dropping in and out all day. I know it's frustrating, guys. Reportedly, early May or mid-May is my internet connection upgrade. So I've got a date. I'm not going to tell you because people could find out where I live. But yeah, it is scheduled. So hopefully that will be something that hopefully will go through. Apart from that, guys, obviously, look, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If you have any questions, any queries, any comments on any of the topics that we have covered tonight, obviously, please feel free to hit us up if you're watching this later in the comment section. I do try and at least read the comments, and obviously, if they're interesting, I'll always try and respond, presuming I'll get time. Apart from that, thank you so much for joining us once again and gracing us with your presence.
No worries.
How's your space engineers? Good?
Yeah, good. I've been flying around just mapping resource locations near my area within a 10k thing. It takes ages to do. So literally all I've done is just go asteroid to asteroid. I haven't even gotten all of them.
I haven't played games in so long, eh? I've just been watching other people play games on Twitch.
Apparently this is a really good server. Maybe you should join the Discord and get into it too with me.
I do actually own Space Engineers, don't I?
Yeah.
Is it? Do I own it, or is that free play?
You got the download on free to. You're gonna have to pay for it, yeah.
Yeah. All right. But yeah. Apart from that, guys. Yeah. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Anybody? You have any questions, any queries, any comments at all? Apart from that, guys, obviously we will see you tomorrow at around the same time. I try and put up a schedule or an event coming up. I try and put it about an hour